there, tipsters. It's Monday, and I'm back with another improv tip. Today's improv tip is about space. Now, I've already talked about this idea of space a couple times. I talked about it here, where I was talking about using the space, and I talked about it here, where I was talking about status with regards to the space. Pete Holney, the guest tipster, talked about it here when he's talking about being in the where, and Bill Cott also talked about it here, where he was talking about using the space. So if you're interested in the idea of space, there's a lot of resources here on Improv Tips for you to check out, or you can listen to today's tip, which we're doing now. When I was in Chicago, coming up to the Improv Olympic, one of my favorite improvisers to watch was Noah Gregoropolis. Now, one of the things I loved about his work, there's many, many things I loved about his work, but one that I really loved about his work was his use of the space. It was so detailed and so particular, and me and all the guys on my team were just so fascinated by how he did it. So one day after a show, we asked him, like, no, how do you do that? How do you get so involved in the space and so come up with these things? And he said very simply to us, he's like, it is less scary to me to imagine things in the space than to have a completely blank space. And I thought that was pretty mind-blowing. So today's tip sort of gets you down that road of imagining things in the space rather than a blank space. Where do I start? There's so many things that can be in a space. Where do I start imagining things? And here's something to get you going. Once you get the habit of it going, I think that it sort of takes life of its own. But right now, something to get you going is this. So when you enter the space, the improv space, the blank space, and you're starting to imagine what's there, try this. Try imagining one thing that you love in the space and one thing that you hate in the space. Because if you imagine that, one thing you love and one thing you hate, then it puts you in sort of a triangulation in the space, like the thing you love, the thing you hate, and you. Now these things may never come up in the scene, because the scene is not about the location, it's not about the things in that space, but it grounds you and gives you a connection to the space. Also, I found using this technique, that if I find one thing I love and one thing I hate, that those things will sometimes grow. Those are like the seeds of the room, and they grow in these ways where, oh, I hate that he has that wagon wheel table, but then that wagon wheel table makes me think of, oh gosh, there's like this saddle on the wall, and there's all these horseshoe picture frames or whatever. It sort of makes me think, oh gosh, this is sort of a Western guy or Western space, right? So these little emotional connections, trying to not just imagine things, but the way you feel about these things, energize them and brings them to life, and then they start to grow, and the space kind of grows and fills out on its own. Okay? So I think this is really important. As always, you've heard me say before, I think that using the where is super important because it gives us a lot of options to show our relationships and to show our games. So try it out this week. Let me know in the comments how it worked out, and I'll see you next week. Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Please leave me a comment down below and tell me what you would like to hear an improv tip about. And also, please subscribe and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. All the links are in the description down below. Thanks.